Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. You'll have to forgive me for one moment. I have had some technical problems, and we are, for the first time ever, running this from not my preferred browser. So if there's any issues, someone in the live chat, please let me know. For some reason, audio completely dead on my preferred browser with 3 different microphones, 2 different inputs. Not quite sure what the issue is, but did not want to miss our start time. We try to stick to that. I respect your time, so we don't want to make you wait 20 minutes for me to be plugging and unplugging things. So today is April 11th. It is actually spring break, and I've had a long day with my 2 boys. But I'm still here, anxious to show up and get some work done. Now, you may recall that we have covered this Anjali story since the very beginning, since her press conference at the Lincoln Memorial, telling everyone that she met aliens in a secret tunnel, alien base. And it has progressed from there. Now, maybe I was naive in thinking that once we followed all the leads, investigated the story, and basically proved that she fabricated huge parts of her story, that would be the end of the story. But now we see that the story goes on. This is a continuation now. And there's several things that strike me, and you'll have to forgive me because I'll be doing tonight just off the top of my head. I have no notes here, but I am very well versed in what Anjali's latest move is, and that is something that I have affectionately called, this is my term, the Cosmic Con Shuffle. That's what's going on here, and I'd like to educate all of you, especially if you haven't been here in the world of aliens and UFOs for many years, as I have. Because if you have been here for, say, 10 or 20 years, watching all of these conspiracy land characters and the different characters who, come out and tell fantastical stories about aliens, you might not spot the pattern of the Cosmic Con Man Shuffle. So we're going to get into all this and more and talk about her latest news stories, because that's part of the Cosmic Con Man Shuffle. I'm going to share something from my Twitter here. We do have, I don't have any notes, but I do have sort of a breakdown that I have made about the Cosmic Con Man Shuffle. So let's get into it, friends. Let's get into it. All right. So first, thanks to a friend of the show who sent me this graphic when we completely and totally, I believe, proved without a shadow of a doubt to anybody that's actually interested in facts, evidence, and the truth, proved that this Anjali person completely and totally made up and fabricated large portions of her original story. We went on to speak to her so-called Wayne, and I did speak to Wayne, her so-called Wayne's Trish, which is actually, his name is Brian, and we heard that interview here where Brian and his wife, the original witnesses that she likes to cite as being in on this incredible alien experience inside a tunnel, they completely and totally dispute her version of events and largely tell a story about, doing some cannabis oil, drinking, hanging out, partying. And some 3 years later, this Anjali person would start calling them, Skyping them, trying to convince them to go along with these incredible stories about aliens that she had been telling on the internet for 6 months, I think, at that point. It's just, this whole story just gets nuttier and nuttier. But the major point here is that just 1 month ago, we did the work along with other researchers who certainly did an incredible amount of work tracking down these so-called witnesses to her story, thanks to Charlie Weiser and James A. Conrad and a few others. I got to speak with Brian and his wife. We got to interview them and hear that almost nothing that she said was actually true, according to them, and they were witnesses to the evening that she described these alien experiences. And remember, we got that revelation just 4 weeks ago. So I have noticed this incredible pattern that I call the cosmic con man shuffle, but she's deviating from it because maybe she's new at this. So we're going to get into the cosmic con man shuffle. And once you hear this, you'll be able to increase your level of discernment, because you will be able to spot this cosmic con man shuffle pattern, not just in Anjali, but in many, many, many of these people. And so let's get into it, friends. Here is the breakdown of how, just exactly how, the cosmic con man shuffle works. And before we do get into it, I want to say just off the top of my head, Stephen Greer does the cosmic con man shuffle. Richard Dolan does the cosmic con man shuffle. Linda Moulton Howe does the cosmic con man shuffle. I could think of many other people that have done the cosmic. Bob Lazar certainly does the cosmic con man shuffle. Jeremy Corbell for sure does the cosmic con man shuffle. He just gonna have to do it again because he just got caught like talking up this whole deal of these, so-called secret government documents that were actually based on things like the National Enquirer. But he'll be doing the cosmic con man shuffle shortly. They all do it. All the top tier people, all the people, especially the people making the most money at this, do the cosmic con man shuffle. Okay? And here's how the cosmic con man shuffle works. I have been observing this in these characters for decades now. I spot it as a pattern time and time and time again. And besides Anjali tonight, one of the reasons we're covering her again is because she just handed me a gift. She went and did the cosmic con man shuffle just recently over the weekend. And this gives me an opportunity to teach people about the cosmic con man shuffle. This is so prevalent in the so-called alien or UFO community. All the top tier people do this cosmic con man shuffle. Like I said, I have seen Richard Dolan do the cosmic con man shuffle. We certainly see David Wilcock, Corey Good do the cosmic con man shuffle. Emery Smith does the cosmic con man shuffle. All of them, they all do it, especially the people that make money selling these fake stories. But Anjali, despite her lack of, I suppose, financial success at this, see, I always thought that Anjali may indeed be, she might be going for the long game. And what do I mean by that? Anjali may have been smarter than some of these cosmic con artists, because Anjali may have decided that the best thing to do would be to play the long game. What does that mean? That means you don't try to cash in right away. She did. She was going to. People were telling her, you need a book. She was working on a documentary. She had a production company to do a documentary about her alien and UFO stories. She was writing a book about her alien UFO stories. Then she started getting an incredible amount of criticism because she hadn't provided any proof yet, and she was already trying to cash in. Suddenly, she starts backpedaling, right? She was doing the backstroke. Oh, it was beautiful. And suddenly canceled all the financial projects. But I am aware that I believe, and I could be wrong, she can correct me if she would like to, that she was paid for some online conference appearances, right? But I believe that Miss Anjali was trying to go for the long game. That means that maybe she was just trying to build an audience for a while, maybe just try to gain more interest, get more followers, expand her cult of personality so that when she did drop the Cash Money project, she would have a waiting fan base ready to purchase whatever shit she was going to try to sell. But it's interesting that the people that were so critical of her saying, hey, why don't you provide the proof that you promised everybody before you do the cash in with the book and the documentary? They may have saved her a great deal of embarrassment, because what if we got to her so-called Wayne, his real name is Brian, the witness that blew to shit. That guy blew her entire story completely to shit. What if she had made those books and those documentaries claiming all these things, and then we got to the Brian completely blowing her story to shit? That would have been embarrassing for her. So sometimes having critics is a good thing. But back to the Cosmic Con Man Shuffle. This is one of my favorite things. I love that I have an ability to see through deception and spot these patterns. And it's interesting how many of these Conspiracy Land characters do the Cosmic Con Man Shuffle. And let's get into it. Here's how the Cosmic Con Shuffle works. Okay, so the Cosmic Con Shuffle, how it works. Number one, you tell fake alien stories, and then you wait for someone to prove them fake. Now, ideally, nobody figures out that your alien stories are fake, and you can just keep on telling that alien story. We see this time and time again, where sometimes somebody will come out with a fantastical story, and they'll be telling that story for a decade before somebody starts picking their story apart. We can see in the case of Bob Lazar, it literally took 30 years for people to get to people that actually worked at Area 51, who checked the logbooks and said Bob Lazar would never step foot on Area 51. It took years before people got to people who were actually his supervisor at Los Alamos, who said he was never a scientist, right? Sometimes it takes a while for the story to fall apart. Now, in the case of Anjali, my analysis seems to indicate that she completely and totally overpromised and underdelivered. I believe that Anjali was trying to manipulate this so-called Wayne and Trisha, real name Brian and his wife, to go along with her story, even back it up, promising them that they were going to get millions of dollars and that Bob Bigelow was involved and Whitley Strieber was going to broker a deal. Oh, it is beautiful. The amount of manipulation that this woman was willing to go to try to get this story to fly. But she overpromised, she underdelivered, especially giving a hard date. I'll get the proof of this alien tunnel and these alien beings by this date. I knew as soon as she gave it, you never give a date. Never give it. You want your story to fall apart, give a date, right? We've seen David Wilcox screw up and give dates like 2012 or the year 2000. None of that shit happened. And then you look like an idiot. She comes forward and says, I'm going to go do an expedition, even though I don't own the property and I don't have permission. And I'm going to gather all these scientists. And then we're going to go and prove the alien stories I'm telling are real. I kind of knew this was going to fall apart. But I think she overpromised and underdelivered. So what did she do for step one? She did the exact thing that my Cosmic Con Shuffle says. She told fake alien stories, and then she waited, hoping that nobody would prove her wrong. But some people did prove her stories fake. Me, one of the principals among the people that proved her story was fake. Then you got to go to number two. You got to shuffle off and hope that everyone that was listening to your fake alien stories completely and totally forgets that you just got caught. Anjali, just 1 month ago, got completely and totally busted, telling completely what was essentially fairy tales, right? And I get it. Some of you people are experiencers. Some of you people send me, emails saying you can't discount her experiences just because she can't prove them and it was real to her. I get it. But there are specific details she included in her original story, all of which don't add up, all of which turned out to be fake. There's no mountain. Brian, never really dug into the mountain. She even sent this couple a Google map with a pin saying, this is exactly where the tunnel is on your property. Brian walked me around right to that spot on his property with GPS, and there's nothing there but dirt and rocks, right? So the tunnel's not real. The people she said would back up her story don't back up her story. Her story got completely and totally blown to shit 1 month ago. So number two, she's supposed to shuffle off and hope everyone forgets that she just got caught selling fairy tales, telling tall tales, bullshitting everyone with fake facts, a fake tunnel, all kinds of fake evidence, right? and witnesses that she claimed would back up her story, that when we actually talk to them, they say, none of this shit happened. She's supposed to shuffle off and hope everyone forgets that she just got caught with all that fakery, fraudery, and bullshittery trying to manipulate people. But there is a big problem. You know, she's new to this. Shuffle off. He leaves for 6 months at a time, right? In the year 2012, when he told us all we would get light bodies and rainbow superpower telekinetics and all this stuff, none of that happened when 2012 hit. When that deadline approached, again, you never give the date. David Wilcock gave the date, the Mayan calendar. We're all going to get superpowers. None of that shit happened. So what does David Wilcock do? He shuffles off for a full-on 6 months, maybe even more, and hope that everyone forgets that he just got caught selling a bunch of lies for literally 2 years. Anjali has no shame, right? She has no shame whatsoever, because just 1 month ago, the entire story that she first brought out got completely and totally blown to shit. And just 1 month later, she starts up again, and now she's telling new, completely and totally fake stories. I believe they're completely and totally fake. How many times are you going to let somebody lie to you or try to manipulate you with fake evidence, fake stories with no proof, before you just say, she's not worth listening to anymore? So you got to do the shuffle off and hope everyone forgets you got caught. Step number 3, and this is very important, and it will tell you everything you need to know about this so-called UFO community or alien community or conspiracy land, whatever. Step number 3 is, after you get caught selling completely and totally horseshit, fake, made-up bullshit stories, even if you get busted bad, and we've seen people busted bad. Stephen Greer got busted trying to sell a fake human dead baby as an alien, right? He made like $1 million. He did the shuffle off, and then he did step number 3 too. They all do this. After you do the shuffle off for a while, you come back. And then what do? You do softball interviews where no one, especially a show host that's interviewing you on those softball shows, will call you out on your recent fraud. What does Anjali do? Oh, perfectly. And by the way, I can show you the date of this actual graphic. It certainly predates this last week where Anjali started to do the Cosmic Con Shuffle. And I just thought it was funny because I happened to hear that she was doing a new interview. And of course, she's getting softballed on a show that did not call her out on any of her fraud. Didn't even mention it. She starts talking about the tunnel and the mountain and her original experiences. Those show hosts didn't even say, well, can you explain the fact that Steve Campion from Truthseekers proved there's no tunnel, there's no aliens? That does not exist? Of course not, because she's doing the Cosmic Con Shuffle, and you need co-conspirators. In order for the Cosmic Con Shuffle to work, you need co-conspirators. You've got to do it, friends. You've got to have somebody to help you do the Cosmic Con Shuffle. You can't do it alone. You're going to need co-conspirators, and you're going to need help. You're going to need friendly people who are going to help you get over the fact that you just got caught selling completely and totally horseshit fake alien stories. And Anjali found somebody to do it. I thought it was funny that she was going to go to Ryan, but maybe I haven't given Ryan much credit, especially since he was supposed to be doing an interview with this Anjali with Scott Brown, who really, that guy doesn't suffer any fools. So I think that perhaps Anjali was going to go to them to try to do the Cosmic Con Shuffle, but then she figured out they weren't going to help her with the Cosmic Con Shuffle. They were going to ask her hard questions, Scott Brown and this Ryan Gordon. So she said they were assholes and backed out of that interview and found somebody else with, less. I think they have 600 subscribers, right? And I don't think that this was very well, her latest interview was very well listened to or attended. I could be wrong. So she goes and does a softball interview at a place where no one will call her out for her recent fraud. Step number 4, never ever acknowledge that you got caught telling 100% fake story. Don't admit it. Make excuses. Come up with shit, right? well, maybe the experience was a lot more consciousness based and less physical than I had originally thought. My memories are murky. You got to make bullshit excuses for why you just got caught telling or selling 100% fake story. That's how the Cosmic Con Shuffle works, friends. Number 5, you have to start new fake stories and then return to step 1 and then rinse and repeat. So step number 5 is you start with new fake stories. Just hope everybody forgets those other fake stories you were telling. Just start telling new fake stories. It's the Cosmic Con Shuffle, friends. I love it. That's how this shit works. That's what Anjali is doing right now. And she's going to continue this. But when she does, I hope there will be people that will not do the softball interview. I hope there will be people who have the courage to stand up to her and say, excuse me, you stood at the Lincoln Memorial and told people a whole bunch of lies at a press conference. You told everybody there was a tunnel and there was these Manus aliens. You lied and said you weren't on drugs. Turns out you were on like 4 or 5 different drugs. I granted 4 of them were prescriptions, but then she was taking this super strong cannabis oil, suddenly seeing aliens. I asked her, other people asked her. She claimed she wasn't on any drugs. Then we find out she was on 4 or 5. Great. But so step number 5, you got to start the new fake stories. I predicted. You can hear me in previous shows here saying she's going to try to roll on out and pretend that those fake stories she just got caught selling never happened or telling. I'm not sure what money she's making. And I predicted that she was just going to start telling new fake stories and keep rolling on with this. I've observed her enough to know that she's a narcissist enough to, number one, have no shame. Because, I mean, imagine... Just take a moment and humor me. I know that my audience isn't full of liars, but let's have a thought experiment here. Let's pretend that you told some tall tales, like completely and totally made up tall tales. What if you just started telling your coworkers or your family members or your neighbors that you were abducted by aliens and you were on a spaceship and all this stuff, right? And then 1 month later, you got caught. Like, let's say your neighbor or whoever you were telling these fake alien stories to found out that you were someplace else when you claimed that you were on a spaceship. Whatever, however the reason you got caught, but you got caught bad. You got caught dead to rights, lying to people's faces, telling them fake alien stories 4 weeks ago. I have to ask all my friends here in the live chat, everyone within the sound of my voice, if you had gotten caught telling whoever completely and totally made up fake stories and you got caught badly, you got caught dead to rights where that person you were telling the stories to could 100% prove that you made most of it up, would you return to that person just 4 weeks later with new, completely and totally made up fake stories with no evidence? I mean, there is no shame in this woman's game. She's just like, yeah, my whole story just got busted to shit. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take 4 weeks off, and then I'm going to go right back and tell new fake alien stories. She has no shame whatsoever. This is why I know that she's got to have some kind of psychological issues. But again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I don't know. But there has to be something going on with this woman, because a normal person with a conscience, a normal person that has things, built into them, a normal human has this thing called shame. And if a normal person gets caught completely and totally lying through their teeth and making up a bunch of shit, they don't just wait 4 weeks and start doing it again. A normal person would be ashamed of themselves. A normal person would feel the need to explain themselves. She came here and couldn't. This girl is running around telling everybody that she's the bee's knees, man. Out of everybody on Earth, these higher beings are coming here to talk to her, right? Like she's, again, like a Corey Good. She's Earth Galactic Ambassador to the higher beings. And she's going to teach everybody on Earth what these higher beings, these space brothers, have to teach us. She's so important. She's so special. I don't get it. So 4 weeks after her whole complete and total original story completely and totally is shattered, falls apart, is goddamn destroyed, she's back with new shit. Maybe she didn't pay attention to Cosmic Con Man School. She needs to study Dr. Stephen Greer. She needs to study Richard Dolan. She needs to study David Wilcock and a few others. Because if she did study them, she's copying what they do. They all do this Cosmic Con Man shuffle. All of them have been caught selling completely and totally fake stories. And they all do this. But Anjali is unique in that she thinks that everyone is so goddamn stupid that they will forget that her entire story was just blown to shit 4 weeks ago. She thinks that everybody in this community is a goddamn idiot and will just forgive her for that or forget it. And I have seen people, making excuse. Maybe she lied about that story, but it doesn't mean all her stories are fake. Really? And honestly, I feel bad for people because some people so desperately want to believe that this woman is telling the truth about these aliens that they're willing to just let her completely lie through her teeth and get caught lying through her teeth and give her a pass and let her get platformed again. Oh, let's go on another show and tell made up alien stories. And hey, I get it's my opinion. I can't prove she wasn't abducted as a 4-year-old child. By the way, that's her new story. Her new stories are about her getting abducted as a child, a 4-year-old child. And again, I would ask my audience, how reliable are your memories when you were 4 years old? That's a valid question. Now she's going to tell us all about how she was abducted as a baby. A 4-year-old, I mean, I don't know how old she is now. What is she, 50? Maybe a little older than 50? I don't know. So we're supposed to, first of all, we're supposed to give her a pass on her original story that she first came out with, completely and totally getting shattered, falling apart, to being proven to be mostly bullshit and made up and fabricated, and her trying to manipulate people to say things or, back up her bullshit. Her original story completely and totally falls apart. So first of all, we're supposed to give her a pass on that. Now, the second part of this is that we're supposed to believe that her 46-year-old memories of her as a 4-year-old are accurate enough that we can believe that she's telling us the truth. Friends, do you remember what happened when you were 4 years old? I mean, maybe if you had some traumatic event, I don't know. But this whole thing is ridiculous to me. Why is she getting a pass? Why is people platforming her? And by the way, good job on that UFO circle jerk. The people who just platformed her. Oh, God, you did a great job jerking that circle. Oh, the UFO circle jerk. I love it. Don't bother to ask her, excuse me, didn't all of your witnesses say you're full of shit? Excuse me, you're talking about that alien tunnel again. Didn't Steve Campion prove there's no tunnel with the aliens in that mountain? No, they didn't ask her any of that. They just let her tell her bullshit stories. They let her do the Cosmic Con shuffle. You just shuffle off, right? Go away for a little while. I'm just going to shuffle off with my, oh shit, it all came crashing down. It's time to start the Cosmic Con shuffle here, right? And people are going to let her do this. And as much as it makes me sad that somebody's willing to do the UFO circle jerk, somebody's willing to be, let's get it right. Anybody that helps her do the Cosmic Con shuffle is a co-conspirator in her fraud. You're helping her defraud the public with fake stories she claims are real, right? I don't get it. I want to thank Lord Ludicrous for a kind and generous $1.99 super chat. Oh, yes. And don't forget that CGI UFO she shared. Yeah, and talk about being manipulative. Lord Ludicrous Plaid, tried to manipulate me into helping her cover up the fact that she got busted sharing a completely and totally fake CGI picture of a UFO, claiming it was 100% real, and maybe the beings told her it was real. God, and if she's really in contact with these higher beings, wouldn't they say, "Don't share that. That's fake as shit. You're going to look stupid and foolish all over Twitter"? No, the aliens didn't tell her that was fake, and she shares a completely and totally fake CGI video, UFO actually, that came from a CGI artist video, a still frame, and shares "Aren't my beings beautiful" or something like that. So we're supposed to give her a pass for her original story completely and totally being blown to shit. We're supposed to give her a pass for being too stupid or dumb, I guess, to know that something is CGI and not a real UFO photo. I don't want to say dumb. I apologize. Naive, too believing, having too much confirmation bias, wanting to believe it so desperately that she did no fact checking on that image. She just shared it as real. We got to give her a pass on that. And now we're supposed to believe her stories of her, I don't know if she's 50 or so, her 46-year-old memories of her as a 4-year-old having alien experiences. That is a lot to forgive. But thank you, Lord Ludicrous, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Always happy to have a few people supporting. A good way to support us. There's a few ways to support us. We are a viewer-supported show. There's a money button down there, and there's also a join button now. Now you can become a member of our channel for $4.99 a month, and the membership also includes all the Patreon benefits and a bunch of other. You get a bunch of perks for becoming a member here, or you can send us a PayPal donation, and later in the show, we will read the PayPal donations, the cash apps, and welcome new Patreon folks. We appreciate every one of our kind and generous benefactors that help us do the show. It's a viewer-supported show. Doesn't work without you. Thanks so much. And just to let you know, we read every single super chat that we get here. And we thank each and every person for doing that. We're going to take a few comments from the live chat before we get into parts of the interview. I'm only going to share a little bit of this interview because, I don't want to listen to bullshit any more than I have to. Robert Redmond says, "Thank you for keeping up with her and sharing with us. It's hard to keep up with all the nut jobs." Oh my FG, people have been going wackadoodle lately. Anjali is one of the many. Yeah, she's going wackadoodle. Oh, here we have kind and generous. Boy, I got to try to say this right. Vytautas Ramanaskas. Must be Russian. Kind and generous. 99 pounds, I think that is. Super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And I want to welcome everybody to the circus. It is kind of a circus. We thank everybody for the cash. Sometimes I feel like a stripper on a pole here, right? Or a dancing monkey or something, but hey, I love to praise the cash. Thank you, Vytautas Ramanaskas, for a kind and generous donation and for helping us. And thank you, Lord Ludicrous, for helping us to praise the cash, friends.
This is Trixie at the exclusive Truth Seekers UFO desk. And I like nothing more than getting down on my knees and praising the cash. Every time you donate, I'm going to get down on my knees and praise the cash. Praise the cash. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Trixie. For those unaware, we're now hiring unemployed strippers. The pandemic was rough on strippers, and I think they should be allowed to work in UFOs. Randall Hill says she is beautiful. And Vimo says it's entertaining. Well, we try to be both educational and informative and entertaining for sure. Yeah. Charlie Weiser is here. Shout out to Charlie Weiser, who did much of the work to find this Wayne and Trisha. Real name Brian. It says B. Baker would be great if hypnotic regression was not allowed in ufology either. Yeah. Robert Redman with a kind and generous $3 super chat says, thank you. Just a small token for you. No, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. It really does help the show. We got just a few more days, 5 more. This is the last week until YouTube finally pays us. You know, that once a month thing. So throw some money in the hat now. We really do appreciate it. Bobby Dogstone says, Stephen is an equal opportunity employer. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel bad for out-of-work strippers. The pandemic has been tough on everybody, including strippers, exotic dancers. So if we can, employ some, I'd be happy to do that. Okay, so I have this stream, which is by Calling All Beings. This was a recorded interview and podcast. Now, I've never tried to share both from this browser or from I think this is SoundCloud, right? Please let me know if you cannot hear this, but I believe that you should be able to. But first, let me remind myself. All right, we're going to do the fair use banner and the fair use dance, because we're going to be playing small portions of her recent interview doing the Cosmic Con Shuffle with Calling All Beings, and remind everybody that this is fair use because we are educating the public. We're going to be critiquing the audio podcast that we're sharing. This is covered under fair use and certainly allowable by law. We have lawyer letters standing by. We have never lost a single claim against us when we cite fair use. It's important to me. I truly believe in a few things. I believe in free software. I believe in fair use and Creative Commons as well. Big supporters of those 3 things. So this is fair use. We're going to be playing small bits of this, but we're going to be critiquing it, talking about it with the live chat. This is a transformative work. We're also educating the public about the Cosmic Con Shuffle that Anjali apparently is trying to undertake right now.
The experience begins, but I can tell you my first memory of the higher beings that I've had contact with, and that started. That was in 1976, and I often remind people of that when they say, "Oh, it was probably just all in your mind when you thought you were in a tunnel in 2018." And I say, well, while that sounds lovely, this started as a physical experience with
So it's just to interject here, and I have to do that also for fair use purposes. We mentioned that now she's going to start telling stories from when she was a 4-year-old. And that would have been some, let me see, 1976, we're in 2022, 46 years ago, she had these experiences. So we're supposed to just trust that she's telling us the truth after she lied to us in her original story, after she lied to us and said, this is a real UFO photo, and it wasn't. After she tried to manipulate this couple into going along with her story, telling them that they were going to get millions of dollars if they went along with her story. Now we're supposed to believe her memories from 46 years ago. I have a real problem with that. Even if she didn't get caught lying through her teeth or, making up stuff, fabricating fake evidence like a tunnel that doesn't exist. I would have a problem with anybody, even if they haven't already been caught several times lying or fabricating things. I would have a problem with anybody coming forward with a 46-year-old story. Can you remember what you were doing 46 years ago, especially if you were a 4-year-old at the time? I don't think so. But here we are. The Cosmic Con Shuffle. That's how this works, okay? And here, she's not acknowledging. Remember, what's a big part of the Cosmic Con Shuffle? Step number 4, never ever acknowledge you got caught telling a 100% fake story. She's making excuses here for getting caught telling a fake story. right? Coming up with an alternate explanation for why there was no tunnel.
Craft in 1976. And essentially, I know two living witnesses. One is my mother, and one is someone who was living in the house with us, who was 13 years my senior. I was 4. And it was in the evening to, it's hard to know. I was 4. I can just tell you that when I first I realized where I had just been and I was back, it was dark out, but it wasn't like pitch black in the middle of the night dark. Okay. But what I had remembered for most of my life was running down the hall in the house.
What is that? That's like walking down the tunnel, right? Boy, some of these things seem vaguely similar. Getting transported to some kind of alien location. Geez, this sounds vaguely familiar. Oh no. Oh wait, this is a whole new story. I'm sorry.
Jumping on the back of the couch, looking out the window over and through the carport, and seeing my mother and Diana and the other people who were living in the home, and our neighbors. They were all standing in our driveway and in the street and in the yards, looking up at a craft that was rotating above our house.
Oh no. She just mentioned that her neighbors were there. Great. So there's witnesses to this event, just like there were witnesses to the original event she described. Hey, Anjali, can I have their names and addresses so that I can interview them and ask them if they corroborate your new fake story? Do you want to do this again? Is it time for a second dance, Anjali? Do I really got to go talk to your neighbors who most likely won't remember any of this shit that you're talking about? What's their names? What's their addresses? Do you have their telephone numbers? Let me contact them. Let's corroborate your new fake story. Or is this another fantasy? I know what I believe.
Essentially, it was a disc-shaped craft. There were lights along the bottom edge of it that you couldn't really tell if it was on the bottom, rotating along the sides, or if they were actually mounted beneath the craft. But they were multicolored and they changed as they rotated around the craft.
Wow, very original. A saucer-shaped craft with lights on it that rotated. I've never heard that before. This story is so original, Anjali.
And I have no idea how long it was there. My mother has remembered this for years, and her friend who is also living in the home has remembered this for all of our lives. This has been a conversation that we've had.
And I don't want to bring her family into this, but she's bringing her family into this. So if Anjali is like 50 something right now, how old is her mother? In her 70s or 80s? And again, these are memories. There's no physical evidence. There's no physical proof of any of this. There's no pictures. There's no videos. There's no physical evidence. Trust me, dude. Anjali, I think that we trusted you the first time, a lot of us, right? Fool me once, shame on me. Or fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you, or whatever, however that goes. She's already burnt out any trust that she should have been given. Haven't been caught already. But we're just, again, another story with no evidence, and we're supposed to trust her. And I'm sure a book or DVD is coming soon. She's got to try to do a cash out soon, or anybody left still listening to this woman or giving her any trust or belief will be gone. So she's going to have to hurry up and try to cash in on this real soon.
And I didn't put it together with my experience in the desert, because I was so focused on that experience in the desert, and I really had to work my way back to it. It was actually my mother who reminded me. It wasn't that I had forgotten, it's just I hadn't connected the two. And she said, well, Angie, you remember in 1976 when we had that craft above our house? I thought, oh my gosh, yes. How could I have forgotten that? And So I was doing a meditation recently. It was last year, and
yeah. So these are like recovered memories, and I guess there's going to be a hypnotic regression from Barbara Lamb or somebody else that's less than credible that does hypnotic regressions, and every single person that these people hypnotically regress suddenly remember alien experiences. Isn't that a little? I always found that a little funny. Like these people that do these hypnotic regressions on experiencers. They never do a hypnotic regression and the person says, "Oh yeah, it's just lights in the sky. Oh wait, I could hear a helicopter. Oh, it was just a helicopter. I remembered it wrong." They never do a hypnotic regression and not find alien stuff. They always find the alien stuff. And by the way, just to correct me, because I'm sorry, I just feel terrible. I had a George Bush moment. He really screwed that quote up. It's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And some people also add, fool me thrice, go ahead, I'm an idiot. We're already up to 3 times with her. So I don't know how many more times we're supposed to trust her, right?
2021. And
also interesting, her mother had to remind her that they saw a craft outside their house in 1976. So does that mean apparently she didn't remember it on her own?
I have a particular meditative process that I do that involves putting anything that's distracting me into a box and turning my back on it so that I can put it someplace else and try to focus my mind back on what I'm doing. So if I'm
and by the way, that's an established meditative technique that I've heard elsewhere. That's not original to her. She's great at culling things from various sources and weaving it into her narrative.
That would be me. She would put me in a box and be like, DJ, leave me alone. I'm trying to meditate. Got it.
Yes, DJ is the first thing I have to put in the box.
Okay.
All the time. It's just so that everybody's clear. Okay. And then so this particular day, I thought I would do something different. It was just
great.
I just wanted to try something new.
Well, if it was a mass sighting, there should be a multitude of witnesses. All the neighbors where she lived saw this thing. We should be able to find 10 or 20 witnesses to this event, right? I can interview all of them, Anjali. Let's keep going. Let's do this, right? We're gonna have we'll turn into the all Anjali coverage all the time channel, right? And by the way, I did think that we were done with this story, but first of all, this is such a teachable moment. It affords me an opportunity to teach everybody about the Cosmic Con Shuffle, especially those new to this thing that haven't been here as long as I have, watching these patterns continually emerge and these conspiracy land characters do this Cosmic Con Shuffle. So I thought we could use this as an opportunity to teach everybody about the Cosmic Con Shuffle and I guess to update everyone. And the other thing is, many of you reached out to me, and one person in particular said this to me, Steve, sometimes it's not about what you want to talk about, it's what your audience wants to hear about. And I thought, you're right. We should do what the audience wants. If the audience wants me to cover her, I'll cover her. Hopefully as little as possible, because there's no there. There's no meat on these bones. There's nothing to learn here except a study into a narcissistic, manipulative spotlight hound. That's all we're getting here. And by the way, that's my opinion, but I'm entitled to it.
Well, I'm going to put myself in the box and see what happens. And so I put myself in the box and I waited until all I could see was bright white light. And when I got to that point where I felt I was centered and everything had been alleviated from my mind, I opened the box and stepped out of it. And when I opened the box and turned back to look into it, there was Earth. And I was seeing it from a perspective of somewhere in space. I could see the curvature, the geology. There was no mistaking what I was seeing. I knew it immediately.
Well, now's where I got to stop her again. Remember when she had her original experience and she described the purple beings and I said, that's a DMT trip. This right here is a mushroom trip. At least I had a mushroom trip where I felt like I floated all the way above Earth and was watching Earth or something like that. So again, I have questions. The last time that she had these alien experiences and ran to the Lincoln Memorial to hold a press conference to tell everybody about those aliens, I said she was probably on drugs. She said I wasn't on any drugs. Then we find out she was on 4 or 5 drugs, including incredibly powerful cannabis oil. Maybe this right here that she's talking about is another drug-related experience. For all we know, all of her experiences are drug-induced. After all, it seems highly likely that when she was on 4 or 5 drugs before, and by the way, we looked at the side effects of some of those prescription drugs she had on, and auditory and visual hallucinations were side effects for one of the medications that she was on. How do we know that this isn't all drug-induced nonsense? And the fact that she's going to run on the internet and tell everybody about her trips. Friends, if you could get rich and famous telling everybody about your drug experience and trips, I'd be a billionaire. I really would. It's kind of sad, but it's true.
So I closed it and it became dark and I turned around. And as soon as I turned around, there they were. They were standing
Good point,
there,
Margaret.
waiting for me. And with that came the entire flood of being on the craft in 1976. And so what that was
Good point,
what I remember the most about the craft now is that there were a lot of children that were on the craft, and they didn't look human, but they were humanoid, and none of them had hair. Their eyes were a little larger. And
again, I hate to beat her up for this, because true believers will say, well, of course she's describing things that other people have described. That's because it's true. But how many alien experiencers have we heard described hybrid alien children? Children that looked human, but they looked a little off. They were hairless. They had big eyes because they were hybrids. We've heard all this before. And this, my friends, is also part of this
very
thing.
Thin.
You got to take accepted UFO mythology, and that's what she's doing here. Everything she's saying here has already been said by multiple other people and is generally accepted by some believers. And then she's going to add to it.
And hairless, and their fingers were a little longer, and they were picking and like pinching at my clothes and pulling at it and tickling me. And I was just, I was a 4-year-old, and I was like, wow, I had all these little playmates. And even though I had.
Now we get into the tickle me alien part of the story. Tickle me aliens? I was getting tickled by aliens. This is ridiculous nonsense. Why am I listening to this? Because you guys want me to, apparently. I'm stuck in this shit show.
The memory of them being different, I didn't really feel like they were different. I just felt like they were different, like they looked differently, but they weren't any different than me. And they told me that there were 4 adult beings in the room, and 3 or 4. And I honestly, I can't remember right now. And I don't think it really matters, but the size of the children were from
Thank you,
little,
Moody
about my size,
much appreciated,
to a little smaller and a little taller. And so I'd say they were all probably, I was tall for my age, so they were probably all about my age, and a little older, maybe up to 6 or 7 years old. If I had to take a stab at it. And so the beings communicated to me that these were my brothers and sisters, and that they had been basically taking my mother's eggs for quite some time and trying to genetically modify and be able to hold a consciousness. So
great. So now we get the startling revelation that Anjali has alien brothers and sisters. Well, that's a new twist to her story, isn't it? But it's not a new story to ufology or to the world of alien experiencers. We've all heard this before. but interesting that she's, you know, when I say this woman makes fantastical claims, first of all, she claimed that she met what was it, 3 or 4 species of aliens inside a secret mountain alien base inside a tunnel. Now she's going to tell us that she has hybrid alien brothers and sisters that are half alien and half her mother. Great.
They would reimplant the egg in whatever they did. And if it seemed like it was viable at whatever stage it was, then they would have reimplanted into my mother. And that was me. I was the only one. Because somehow...
Oh, wait a minute. Is she saying that she's an alien now? She's an alien hybrid now. So this is a new part of the story. Great. And also some mention of the container theory about aliens, like they were trying to create a vessel or a container for consciousness.
And this is science beyond what we can do right now. Somehow they knew that those eggs weren't reimplantable, that it wasn't going to be viable, that they wouldn't pass for human. And so what we weren't looking at a situation where they're taking babies out of humans, not in this situation. What we were seeing was taking eggs, and if they can pass for human, and
you say
they've been
so.
modified to hold our consciousness, then because it requires a different kind of energy. And this is just a biotechnology. And they were, you know, I talk about that a lot. I like to talk about biotechnology because it's science, and it reminds us that we're really
Me too.
no different than another type of life form that also has to have particular structure and technology within it to be able to function, to be able to do certain things, to be able to react and have processes that happen internally. And anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But
yeah, I will say, yes, I understand. The brain is like our computer. We have electrical systems. I understood it very well. But I had a question I wanted to ask about those children. Did you feel like they were emotional? Like that's a concern people have about the emotionality for these kids. And I have a lot of concern about the idea of children that have human traits that may not.
Yeah, and a long accepted thing that the aliens are so fascinated by us because we have emotions and they have bred themselves out of emotions. That may be why they're taking genetic material and so on and so forth. We've heard it all before.
I get to express those. So I was just wondering.
They were experimenting with the way that my clothes felt, the way that my skin felt, my hair. They were curious and playful. And yes, they definitely expressed emotion. It was one of the greatest revelations that I've ever experienced in a meditation. I've had a few like really revelatory moments, and that was one of them. And since then, I've had more time with the beings, as well as being regressed with Barbara Lamb.
Drop that name. Barbara Lamb also is so naive and willing to believe anyone. That Barbara Lamb, I covered her. She wrote an entire book called Meet the Hybrids, but not one of those hybrids was willing to undergo any genetic testing to prove or disprove that they were hybrid aliens. And none of them, I went back and forth with Miss Barbara Lamb for quite some time, offering to test all of them because all of them claimed to have super secret psychic powers. And I was going to test their psychic powers, not a one of them. But go on and get that money and run, Barbara Lamb. You sold a lot of copies of that book, Meet the Hybrids, right? Zero evidence, zero proof, just stories. But here we have Miss Anjali is going to use Barbara Lamb in an attempt to legitimize herself. Like that's a name out there in the UFO community that some people respect and think has good work. I don't, but let's drop her name because I got a hypnotic regression from her and she said I talk to aliens, so it must be true.
People misunderstood, and that's my fault because I didn't communicate it very well, is that there was there was a lot of backstory that I had shared with Barbara, and my goal was not to articulate out loud to everyone what I was experiencing. The goal of this very long session that we had was for me to be able to go back to specific moments and interact with the beings.
Yeah, and that was a cringe-worthy experiment where Barbara Lamb would ask her a question, and there would be this long, minutes-long pause, I suppose, while she thought of bullshit, and then she would answer the question. That was so cringe-worthy that I couldn't sit through the whole thing, and it was hours and hours long, as I recall. I could be mistaken. Maybe it just felt like it was hours and hours long because it was so cringe-worthy.
To remember what had happened and to have interaction with them in that time and space. And so there were a lot of quiet moments, and you hear in the
And here comes her excuse for all the criticism, because it wasn't just me who said that she took way too long to answer the questions, like as if she was sitting there trying to think of some bullshit to spew.
recording, just a lot of oh, you know, it's a little embarrassing, you know, because nobody knows what's going on, and I'm just reliving. I'm reliving a lot, and so I got to go back and relive those moments in the craft when I was a child, and then there were other moments when I was a child that I have linked to it now. Missing time when I was 11, and seeing very early in the morning, seeing what I thought at first was an owl sitting on a limb outside of our tree.
Well, you got to, if you're an alien experiencer, you got to bring some vision of an owl in, because that's also a very, very common reported experience, that there's some vision of an owl that you see at your window or something like that.
Or outside the window where I was eating breakfast, there's a tree, and there was an owl sitting there that like transmorphed, I guess is the only way I know how to say it. And in doing that, I saw the face of a being, a typical, what I've come to know as a droid. Okay.
Wow, this story's got robots now.
A consciousness. We need to be careful.
We've got robots
about thinking that because it's a droid, then there isn't a consciousness in there. But the truth is, they can move consciousnesses into various vessels as long as it can energetically support the consciousness. Again,
the whole the container theory that we've heard time and time again, she's repeating here. And great, this story's got robots. Yeah, great.
What's needed for the support of that body, that biotechnology or other kind of technology that we're put in, that's a separate issue. So we have two issues. The first is you have to create a vessel for a particular consciousness to be.
Oh, thank you very much. John Lies with a kind and generous $10 Canadian super chat saying she's using the Uri Geller Guru training manual. I wonder if she could bend spoons. Well, if she can, it's a trick. It's a sleight of hand trick. It's not real. Not at all, right? Oh, no.
To be compatible with the energy of that vessel. So essentially, so it doesn't short circuit. Okay, I'm not a scientist, and I'm going to remind people of that all the time with the ridiculous things that I say.
I'll say for right here, by the way, Anjali is not a scientist.
That's
nor
right.
any of the other three of us, but
that's right.
Please.
I'm not a scientist either.
That's
I'm throwing it out there.
I actually do have something, though, beyond asking you if you noticed the roses on my shirt and who that might be for that's on this broadcast.
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, the show host wore roses on his shirt just for Anjali. Great. And I don't know that I thought I might have missed it. And if I did, I sincerely apologize. I try to scroll back. I scrolled back as far as I can, but thank you, Jean-Paul Fardier, for a kind and generous US $20 super chat. It says, thanks for the deep dive into Anjali on Gaia. My pleasure. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your continued support of the show. Longtime show supporter. Great to see you here. Thank you for your continued support of the show.
Thanks.
No, Flair, it's for Anjali, not
bro.
you. These
Dude,
Next time I will wear a flowered shirt for you. This one is for
Oh.
Anjali.
I brought you a stuffed animal, bro.
Thank you very much. I thought maybe you were a Whovian, a Dr. Whovian, and that you were trying to make a callback to Rose. So
No, these are for you. But
Thank
beyond that, I want to talk about. I love Flair. I love this guy. Okay, so Anjali,
Yes.
regarding the topic that you're on right now,
Mhm.
I have felt that there isn't a technology that can create a consciousness. That for that is why they require us, essentially, or what they got from your mother or from another person like Mr. What's that gentleman's name that Strieber? Like,
Oh, Whitley.
so yes. So do you believe that technologically you can create a consciousness? I don't think you can, but I'm curious. That's just my speculation. What's your opinion?
I don't really have an opinion on that because I don't know. I don't understand the mechanisms by which any of this is taking place.
Why wouldn't the higher beings explain all this to her? She doesn't understand any of it, but she's in daily communication with these higher beings.
I have, from my understanding of my communications with them, they, like this particular
Good point,
vessel
Mark.
that you're seeing,
Good point, Justin.
was the result of my mother and someone else's genetics. Okay. But they take that egg,
Gross
they take
slogan.
it out, and they, like, make changes to it. Okay. And that's, they actually are putting some of their DNA into that, that egg. Okay.
Great. So if she's now claiming that she's an alien hybrid, then we should be able to do genetic testing on her and find alien DNA within her DNA. Or if she submitted to a DNA, if she submitted a DNA sample, I know a geneticist that could, run that. Would we find that she was just completely and totally normal human like everyone else? I know what I believe. Let us know in the comments. What do you think of these new claims of Anjali, who seems to be claiming that they took her mother's egg, messed with it, and then implanted it back in her mother to create her, and that she's also got half human, half alien hybrid brothers and sisters that she met on a spaceship. Kind of like she met that purple being and the mantis aliens and the Nordic aliens and the gray robot aliens in that mountain that doesn't, the tunnel, the alien tunnel that we now know doesn't exist. Great. New stories.
That's my understanding, that they're actually changing that so that they can, there's something about their level, their genetics that there's something about their genetics that makes their energy different than ours, like the expression of that energy. Okay. It's not the source of that energy is different. It's the age of it, how powerful is it? What is it capable of?
Oh, this is very scientific. Next, she's going to start talking about chakras and shit.
What kind of vessel is capable of holding it? It's like the difference between making something that can hold the flame of a candle and making something
Do
that
it,
can
Mayor
hold the
Pete.
sun.
But I'm saying that in your opinion,
Right.
without that egg, could they? In your opinion, do you think they could create it without the egg that they then took and manipulated?
Good point, Walt.
I don't think so, but
That's
I don't
fun.
know.
Well, none of us know. We're
That's
just
right.
guessing. Right.
What they have said. Oh, I'm so sorry, Deb. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that this kind of lines up with something that I've been playing with lately, and I don't know if playing with it as much as
Scott Brown is
I
here.
have been shown it, so to speak.
Yeah, Scott, could you tell us in the live chat what exactly happened? What exactly happened with your with you guys were going to do an interview? I know that you and Ryan Gordon were going to do an interview here. I'm going to share. Scott Brown and Ryan Gordon were going to do an interview with her, and Yeah, they had really good promo for it too. We need to talk an in-depth look at the Anjali story. And they were even going to have her daughter, her mother, and a witness to the childhood abduction. But she backed out, claiming that Ryan is somebody that can't be trusted and blaming him for the whole thing falling apart. Let us know, Scott, what exactly happened. If you would like to come on, I'll send you a link. You know what? I'm gonna send you an invitation. There's not much more of this garbage to get through. So one second. Here, Scott, I'm sending you an invitation, but I gotta, no rush. If you would like to come and join, we'd be happy to hear your story of what happened with that whole thing, right? We would like to hear what happened. Why did that interview where you were going to get to talk to her mother and her daughter? Her mother was supposed to be corroborating her new alien stories. What happened with that interview? We would like to hear it. Now, let's once again cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public about Anjali telling fake alien stories. Well, allegedly fake. Yeah. We'd like to hear from you, Scott. Or if you're busy at the moment, just put in the live chat and I'll share it to the screen and we'll talk about it.
This is something that kind of keeps clicking into place for me. So my idea is that there is some form of energy, okay? And we can call that God, the source, whatever we want. It's somehow shedding consciousness through the universe. And from my understanding from a lot of different conversations I've had, it seems to be with orbs, somehow, energy, right? That energy is almost like software that gets put into the computer that is our body. There's different names for it. The soul, chi, consciousness. I think they're pretty much all the same.
Yes.
And
The spirit.
yes, I believe that is what is going on.
I do too,
and I will
Rich.
show you a painting later that I did of that.
Can you say that again, but truncate it to what you're?
Okay, so the term God in my mind is applicable to a larger ball of energy, essentially. That is where consciousness comes from. And that creates it and spreads it throughout the universe.
But I think what I'm trying to get at is, can that be created in a computerized? Can a computer create that, or a machine, if you like?
I think no. I think the body, yes.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, Rich from Goofon is here saying that he said he likes that the robots are in her story. This portion of her story, the fact that some so-called aliens, these gray aliens, are actually some form of synthetic life form or robot. This is a story that was popularized by the 1947 Roswell alien interview. There was a book by Matilda O'Donnell McElroy, and it was by Lawrence R. Spencer, who is not really an alien or UFO guy, but there's still this book out there. And in the book, this person, Matilda O'Donnell McElroy, claimed to have been some kind of nurse at, I believe it was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where they claimed that the Roswell aliens were taken. Long story short, the alien was actually some sort of energy form that was inhabiting a container in the form of a gray alien that was actually an artificial life form. Matilda O'Donnell McElroy described it as something like a doll that the consciousness of this light body alien would inhabit in order to interact with the physical world. So even this part of her story is completely and totally unoriginal, and I can show you the sources for that. Interesting that she is pulling from a book that most people, including me, say is a work of fiction. Because first of all, this person in that book claimed that they changed her name, moved her into something like witness protection, because they couldn't have her running around telling her story of telepathically interviewing this Roswell alien. But somehow 40 years later, she still had a complete and total, word for word transcript of the entire interview 40 years later. So they put her in some form of witness protection, changed her name, moved her all the way across the country, but they let her keep a transcript of the alien interview. They were so concerned that she would share. It's a garbage story with no evidence and no proof. And here we have Anjali pulling almost the exact way that her aliens work. They are light beings that inhabit these robots or artificial beings.
Even so, how do I put this? So if we were to make a biological creature, then consciousness would maybe
Yeah,
choose
we would,
to
Mike.
join that creature. It's almost parasitic. I hate to say it, but it is parasitic.
So like consciousness itself is parasitic and it's branching off into all these different possibilities.
Yes, Kepsa, he
Yeah.
was.
We're just one
Exactly.
possibility,
Right.
one
And
big source. Yes, absolutely.
I think part of that is why
Yeah, she's
people
watching
tend
right
to
now.
simulation, because technically our bodies are like avatars. And as someone who plays video
All
games,
right, I've kind of had enough of this show host. I'm trying to get to the
Jeans and boots. That
okay. Here, I'm fast forwarding to about 40 minutes into this interview because I just want to display the Cosmic Con Shuffle. Okay. Now remember, part of the Cosmic Con Shuffle is that you need Confederates. You're going to need some people to softball interview you and not ask you any questions. Remember, number 3 of the Cosmic Con Shuffle, how it works rules is number 3, do softball interviews where no one will call you out on your fraud. And I just want to display that these show hosts did exactly that, because about 40 minutes into the interview, she starts talking about her original story, which has now already been blown to shit. And they don't even bring up the fact that her original story is total horse shit. There's no tunnel with aliens in it. There's no secret alien base inside the mountain. None of that happened. But she's going to talk about it like it's still a true story. And these show hosts, I'm sorry, they did a piss poor job not calling her on her bullshit. Why? Because they are Confederates helping her do the Cosmic Con Shuffle. She needs show hosts that aren't going to say, stop, you're talking about this tunnel again that Steve Campion and others have proven does not exist.
I will say though that I have extremely vivid meditation sessions. Some people have told me it could be actually trances. So I think maybe we can get relaxed to a point where we get to that other place. And I will say that Grant Cameron implied that other place may be more real than this one. So when I say that other place, I mean the place where all of these things can be. But I understand that you had, from your memory, a physical experience. So I want to jump ahead a little bit, if that's
Sure.
okay, because DJ has questions
Mike,
about
he's
the
not.
physical
He's a
experience.
UFO
But I will
researcher.
set it up with a question I have. It's the little small question about the physical aspect. Was it cold in the cave? Because I've heard a lot about these beings not being cold.
This show host is asking her if it was cold in the tunnel. There's no tunnel. The tunnel does not exist. You did a terrible job researching this guest of yours and helping her do the Cosmic Con Shuffle. Her original story is blown to shit. Was it cold in the tunnel that doesn't exist? Let's hear her answer.
it was cool. It was also in January, but it was the desert. I remember that I was wearing jeans and boots that day.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Who
I don't
cares?
remember what top I had on, but I was comfortable. I could tell it was cooler.
It was cool in that imaginary tunnel that I imagined and lied and told everybody was a real physical tunnel. And we now know does not exist. Why are show hosts asking her about the temperature inside a tunnel that we all now know does not exist?
in the tunnel. So cold, I wouldn't say that. We had also been walking, and which wasn't something I did a lot of. Okay. I was feeling better at this point of time. And I have these periods where I will feel better for a few days, sometimes for a couple, 2 or even 3 weeks.
Yes, she
And
is,
then
Lord,
it,
ludicrous.
it all goes tumbling down. But luckily I was in one of those periods, or else I wouldn't have met them. I would have never been sitting in that coffee shop that morning. I wouldn't have had these 2 people sit down beside me and have, take me to their home and transform my entire life. I'm forever grateful for the
I
experience.
will say I was curious about the cold because I have a theory that these beings, this is just going to throw it out there, these beings may have had to leave their planet. They are using lenses to protect their eyes because they're from a darker, colder place. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Not something we need to comment on further because DJ has another question related to the physical thing. I want to make sure he gets to ask that.
Yes, ma'am. So I've been fascinated from the beginning, hearing your story that I've listened to over and over, especially like the Roderick Martin interview. I love that. When you were in there and you eventually encountered the lavender being, the eight foot tall mantis type being that was very kind with you, do you remember feeling touch? Do you remember touching any of them with your hand, or any of them touching you with their appendage to feel? And I'm looking for a feel here, what they feel like, or
I do not remember me touching them. I remember a feeling of touch. And I also.
Sorry, I was muted, friends. She doesn't remember if the imaginary friends that she has that she thinks are aliens in her imagination touched her or not. Well, that's interesting.
So I have.
Maybe she doesn't remember because imaginary friends can't really touch you. Just a, observation.
When I was asking them, when we were talking about the expedition and what the end goal was, and I asked them, are you going to be, what are we doing here? Are we talking about you walking out of this tunnel with me? Is that what we're talking about here? Or something else? And what they gave me was standing next to each other, and I'm holding their hand, and we're standing at the edge of the tunnel, right out of the sun, and I can feel their hand in my hand, and it's cool. It's not dry, but it's not moist. It's soft, gentle, wafy.
Well, it's nice. It's nice to know that her imaginary friends are gentle.
Very gentle. The touch is there, and the sensation is there, but it's just, there's some, I guess it's their spirit that's coming through this touch and through palms touching. And, if we talk about chakras, which I'm not an expert on it in any measure of the word, but I know enough to understand, that these are major chakra points or minor chakra points, and that we can transfer and accept energy. So it would kind of make sense that I would have such an emotional, and because I started crying, when I had the experience, I cried because it was so beautiful. And
or maybe she cried because she was so high. Anybody else ever getting so high that you have, like, I don't know. I once tripped balls and I had something that I can only describe as emotional shock waves, right? And I'm sure that I have been so high that I cried. I've certainly gotten the crying drunks a few times too.
I just didn't want to ever forget how it felt.
Yeah, I'm just it because I thought if I had gotten to make, and by the way, we got to pass this to Kevin because he hasn't gotten to ask you one question yet. But I had thought that if I ever got to travel to the cave with you, that I was going to do the bro handshake or ask them to do that, and that's what I would have done. But I get
Poor guy. He wanted to travel with her to a tunnel or a cave that we now know doesn't exist. Of course, before I knew that it didn't exist, I wanted to travel to it. But he's still talking about traveling to a tunnel that does not exist. The tunnel doesn't exist. It's not real. It's imaginary. It's made up horse shit.
guess you didn't think to reach out and touch their hand when you were there. So
No, in fact, when I was with the first gray that spoke to me immediately, and the tall whites that were, escorting me, I had.
And by the way, the tall whites were an invention of Charles Hall, who lied about his military service and is a complete and total fraud. And by the way, I have it on good authority that his wife writes the books and he's just the mouthpiece for the fake stories of the tall white aliens. So, citing fake sources like, the book about the Matilda woman that supposedly telepathically interviewed a Roswell alien that nobody can talk to, an anonymous fake source, or citing somebody else from the world of alien and UFOs that has largely been proven to be a complete and total fraud, does not help your case when you're trying to be, credible.
The sense that I wasn't to touch anyone.
Ooh.
Like I felt the tall whites. They just, there was a sense of just a detachment, maybe aloof would be a better way of putting it.
Yeah, maybe you were detached from reality because you were on 4 or 5 drugs. Just saying. And again, these show hosts are not, we're going to check out here. I just wanted to display that these show hosts are helping her do the Cosmic Con Man shuffle. That's what's happening here. These show hosts are playing along, giving her the softballs, not calling her on her bullshit, and helping her to keep going with new fake stories. So that's where we're at with this. We're going to stop it right here. I have had enough. Yeah. So just to review, we are educating the public about the Cosmic Con Shuffle. And again, after hearing some of this interview, maybe you will agree with me that Anjali and these show hosts are helping her do step 3 in the Cosmic Con Shuffle. Do softball interviews where no one will call you out on your fraud. It has been factually established and proven that no tunnel exists. No alien base inside a mountain physically exists. That was a figment of her imagination or a drug-induced delusion, hallucination, whatever you want to call it. It's not real. It doesn't exist in the physical world, which means it's all in her imagination. And these show hosts did the UFO circle jerk and just helped her do the Cosmic Con Shuffle. And unfortunately, these show hosts are not the last ones that are going to help her continue with her alien fakery, fraudery, and bullshittery. It's going to keep going on and on and on. So the purpose of tonight's broadcast is certainly not to damage her reputation or any of that, or disparage her. My purpose here is to educate people, especially people new to the world of UFOs or aliens, about this thing that I have discovered. I'm sure I'm not the first person to discover it, but I call it the Cosmic Con Shuffle. And we've seen how it works. Step 1, tell fake alien stories and wait for someone to prove them fake. Step 2, shuffle off and hope everybody forgets you just got caught telling a completely and totally fake story. Step 3, we've just seen it displayed perfectly here. Do those softball interviews where no one will call you out on your recent fakery, fraudery, and bullshittery. Step 4, never acknowledge that you just got caught telling 100% fake story. Step 5, start new fake stories. Return to step 1, rinse and repeat. If you get caught selling the new fake stories, then you got to go back to step number 2, shuffle off and hope everyone forgets that you just got caught. Now, I believe that it can be proven she's making a lot of ridiculous claims with these news stories. Oh, it was a mass sighting event. All my neighbors saw it. My mother saw it. And let me tell you, what kind of a person is willing to involve their own, could be 70, 75, 80-year-old mother to back up her fake alien stories on the internet, right? Like, hey, mom, I just got caught selling maybe selling completely and totally fake, made up stories about aliens and an alien tunnel and a mountain and an alien base. I just got caught and I need to keep this Cosmic Con going. So can you, mom, please, if I say that there was a spaceship at her house, just say, yes, there was. And apparently she had her mother all lined up to do an interview with her. And her mother, I'm assuming, was going to back up her new fake alien stories. And what is her only evidence that there was a spaceship outside of her house? Well, apparently there were some UFO reports around that time in 1976, vaguely near her home. I got to tell you, friends, I live in Warminster, Pennsylvania. Look up UFO flap, Warminster, Pennsylvania. Because if all it takes to prove that you were abducted by aliens and have alien hybrid brothers and sisters, and maybe you're an alien hybrid and they took your mom's egg and manipulated it and put it back in your mom. So now Anjali is essentially, if I understand her correctly, saying that she's an alien hybrid. And her only proof is, well, around that time when I say this happened, somebody saw a UFO near my house. This is absolutely ridiculous, nonsense, garbage, right? And this wackadoo is going to continue. That's right, I said it. She's a wackadoo. She has no shame, just got caught, dead to rights, completely and totally busted, telling fake stories about aliens, an alien tunnel, an alien base. There's witnesses to this physical event where I met the aliens. All the witnesses said none of this shit ever happened. She just got busted. And her entire original story came crashing down like a house of cards. Right here, live on Truth Seekers. And just 4 weeks later, she shuffles off. In my opinion, she should have waited at least 6 months before starting the new fake stories. Because, look, I'm not saying that I'm going to start looking into this, but I bet you that some people are already trying to find her address in 1976, contact the neighbors, and see if they saw a spaceship, right? And there's all kinds of other problems with this new narrative that she's going to try to weave in, right? Forget about remember the shit I first said? Forget all that stuff I said first, okay? Just forget all that. Steve Cambion and Charlie Weiser, James A. Conrad, and a bunch of other people, they proved that whole story was bullshit. Forget all about that first story, because I got a new story for you. When I was 4 years old, I was abducted by aliens. They messed with my mom's genetics and put me back in my mom's womb. And by the way, where's her father in all this? Because if she's an alien hybrid, is she saying that they just took her mother's egg and not her father's sperm? Why didn't they harvest her father's sperm, right? Maybe they're heterosexual aliens and they only like to mess with women. I don't know. How does any of this shit make any sense? And why are we still supposed to listen to this garbage? It's garbage. Her only evidence of any of this news story is, well, right around that time, somebody saw a UFO and it's in a book somewhere. Great. And she's making more fantastical claims that I believe that we can nail her down on this news story. And I encourage you, all of our fellow truth seekers here, it's not just me. If you want to help prove her news story completely and totally fake, made up horseshit, go at it. Go ahead. And I'm pretty sure that some other researchers may already be going to prove that there are no neighbors that will back up her story. And if that happens, what we'll be left with is her telling more fake alien stories. And the only backup she's going to have is her probably very elderly mother talking about an event that happened 46 years ago. And again, she mentioned that her mother had to remind her of this event. So this is the Cosmic Con Man Shuffle, friends. And we have seen time and time again David Wilcock do this. We've seen Dr. Stephen Greer do this. We've seen Richard Dolan do this. Jeremy Corbell does this, right? Oh shit, that whole Bob Lazar story is falling apart. I gotta shuffle off with and hope everyone forgets that we've been caught selling a completely and totally fake story with a fake scientist that never worked where he said he did, who was actually a convicted pimp, right? Jeremy Corbell shuffles off and hopes everybody forgets that fake story, and he comes up with new fake stories. Look at my pyramid UFO. Oh, that's Boca. Oh, look at this UFO swarm video. Oh, that was drones, right? Ron from Cosmic Neighbors got the goods on that fake story of Jeremy Corbell's, and he shuffles off, hopes everybody forgets, does softball interviews. He doesn't acknowledge that Bob Lazar's story is completely and totally fake, right? And then he starts new fake stories, and he returns to step one. This is exactly what they all do. They all do this. The Cosmic Con Shuffle, friends. So the next time you see it, call it like it is. Call these liars out for doing the Cosmic Con Shuffle. This should not be allowed to continue here any further. Now, granted, I get it. People are going to make mistakes, get facts wrong, whatever. If they have good intentions, they acknowledge their mistakes. Because remember, step 4 of the Cosmic Con Shuffle is that you never acknowledge that you just got caught selling a 100% fake story. So the way to tell a good person is that they will acknowledge it. You know, we've had these Roswell slide hoax. You know, Don Schmidt and Tom Carey and a few others that were involved in that acknowledged they made a mistake. They were fooled by a UFO hoaxer in the form of Jaime Maussan. And they acknowledge their mistake, apologize for it, and they move on. The Cosmic Cons don't do that. They laugh at people after they've already gotten the money. Like Richard Dolan laughed about the Roswell slides. Remember that? Richard Dolan does this too. Shuffles off, hopes everybody forgets, comes back with new fake stories. This, my friends, is the Cosmic Con Shuffle. And this is how it works. And now, the next time that you see somebody doing this Cosmic Con Shuffle, you'll be able to recognize it much more quickly. You'll be able to spot the same pattern, and they all do this. All the top tier of these people, all the people getting all the clicks, the views, the documentary deals, the book deals, they all do this Cosmic Con Shuffle. And that, my friends, is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a short musical break. We're running out of time here. Want to get out of here. I have additional editing to do, and I'm happy to say that the new big story that I'm working on is this really the face of Bigfoot, the Todd Standing story. I've got hours now of recorded interviews and little bits and pieces, and I am working really hard on editing that together. Hopefully, we're going to do that sometime in the next few weeks and do a big premiere party for it, and you're invited. Is Todd Standing really showing us the filmed faces of Bigfoot creatures, or is that an incredible hoax? We're going to find out. So here's what we're going to do, friends. We're going to take a short musical break. Pardon me. And when we return, I'm going to read any remaining super chats. We've read them all so far as we were going through the show. But if you're feeling generous, there's a money button down there. Throw a couple of bucks in our hat. Keep us investigating these people making these fantastical claims. We've got Anjali claiming that she was in an alien tunnel, right? We've got Todd Standing claiming that he's filming Bigfoot creatures. And, well, boy, where do you see that project? I'm very proud of that. Yeah, somebody needs to look into these things with a skeptical view and get to the bottom of it. And I'm glad that we get to do an awful lot of that now. So we are going to take a short musical break. And when we return, we'll read the PayPal donations. I noticed a few came in. Thank you for that. If you don't want to do the super chat, instructions for how to send a one-time PayPal donation are in the live chat. I also want to remind everybody that if you become a member of our channel, there's a join button now. If you become a member of our channel, we thank you and shout you out live on air. We've gotten a few members already. Thank you all for the few members that we've gotten so far. Really appreciate that. It helps us continue to move the ball forward. So we're going to take a musical break. Let me get this banner off of here. And again, we shared portions of that interview in the spirit of fair use. Lawyer letters are standing by to defend our right to do so. We have never lost a single one yet. But hey, things happen. So we're going to take a short musical break. When we return, I will read all the PayPal donations. I'll read any remaining super chats, and we'll have some time to just have a short discussion with our live chat. We will be right back, friends.
Don't you remember in the old
All right, welcome back, friends. So I'm going to check in with the super chats and also with the PayPal donations. Then we'll have a little bit of time left for some discussion with our live chat. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We have a kind and generous 1550 PayPal donation from Moody Mongol, longtime show supporter. And he says, Stephen, go buy yourself some of Brian's triple strength hash oil. Then you could do a research show on this magic elixir. Peace. Thank you, Moody Mongol, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Much, much appreciated. I really do appreciate it. And we also want to thank Initials AM with a donation that we missed reading out. So my apologies. And that's a friend from London, Ontario, Canada. Initials AM. They know who they are, with a kind and generous $5 PayPal donation. And also, let's not forget that we had Beyond Bright. One second. Beyond Bright Visions with a kind and generous $4.37 PayPal donation. Very, very kind of you. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Every little bit helps the show going. I look at this. These headphones that I get, they have a built-in microphone, which I disable, but the little plastic piece. There goes another pair of headphones. Maybe I should stop buying the $5 cheap ones at Five Below and buy some good ones. So the PayPal donations, all that stuff really does help us. It's always good to have a couple of bucks in the till if I need new headphones, and right now I do. Or whatever that we need here, your kind and generous support really does help. All right, 5x5 News is here. Shout out! I got to try to call you again. I did try to call you, 5x5 News. I meant to mention that to you when we were on the Josh and Artemis show, but that was a pretty crazy stream. So yeah, Canadian Awareness is here, and I'm aware of their feelings on Anjali. Says, great show, Stephen. Anjali is not a channeler. She makes up her channeled messages like many of the Galactic Federation of Light or Anshar cult members. 100% fake channeler. Well, I agree with you, Canadian Awareness, and thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. The Sixth Sense also chiming in, thanking Canadian Awareness for his kindness, his generosity, and support of the show. Thank you very much. And to anybody else that wants to help us, one of the best ways you can do it is that money button, the super chat button down there in the live chat. And that really does help us to praise the cash.
This is Trixie at the exclusive Truth Seekers UFO desk. And I like nothing more than getting down on my knees and praising the cash. Every time you donate, I'm gonna get down on my knees and praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your generosity.
All right, let's get to some live chat comments and questions. Any questions or comments for me, please put them in all caps. Otherwise, I just cherry pick through them. Amy Collins says, fun and informative as always. Thank you, Stephen. Well, thank you for being here, Amy Collins. Good to see you. Long time audience member and show supporter and participant in the live chat, which reminds me, if you happen to be listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun. Go on over to YouTube. Put Truth Seekers, one word, in the search bar. Look for me, the freak with the weird glasses. That would be me, your host, Stephen Cambion. And you will find the Truth Seekers YouTube channel. We record the podcast completely and totally live here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you're listening in audio podcast land, we love and appreciate you. Please leave a review. But make sure you go on over to YouTube, put Truth Seekers in the search bar, or look in the podcast description. There will be a link to our YouTube channel. Come on over here, smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you too will know when we're doing a live taping. Don't just listen to the show. Don't just watch it. Come here and be a part of it. You are most welcome here. Lee Guy is asking if I've become Thanos yet. because apparently somebody was saying that masturbation gives you superpowers. And I said, if that were true, I would be as powerful as Thanos. Not yet, Lee Guy, but I'm continually working on it. The flawed human that I am, right? Yes, and Wild Ascension says, I think all the men in the chat are thanking you for your generosity, Stephen. Well, thanks to Trixie for helping us to encourage the male members of our audience to praise the cash. And by the way, Wild Ascension, my wife has now told me, has given me homework and said it's not fair for me to just have some girl doing that. I got to find a big buff guy to encourage you ladies. So if anybody knows a big buff bodybuilder kind of guy that I can get on a webcam to help us to praise the cash, email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. I'm interested in doing that. We want to be equal opportunity here. And my wife is right. It's not fair for there to be just a girl helping us praise the cash to encourage the men. We want to encourage everybody. So we'll try to find a buff guy to do it. I would do it, but that would just be terrible. Right? The only six-pack I have is in my refrigerator, Wild Ascension, right? But I am working on losing that. I'm working on losing that 10 pounds that I'm blaming on the pandemic, right? I ate way too much comfort food and drank way too much beer through the last couple of years. And maybe it's just marriage or your metabolism slowing down. I used to be able to eat anything, Wild Ascension. I was like, or maybe it's being a starving artist and getting a little better off in life and being a little more comfortable. Or I blame my wife's cooking too. My wife cooks wonderful meals and a lot of comfort food, macaroni and cheese and these delicious meals. And sometimes I overindulge. So I'm 10 pounds heavier than I should be. And it's all gone right to my gut. And I don't feel right with that spare tire walking around. So I'm trying to get out and exercise more. We're working on that. 5x5 News is here. By the way, let me know in the live chat, 5x5 News. If I can call you later, I will. Or you have my cell phone. As soon as the stream ends, feel free to call me on my cell phone. I left you my cell phone number on your voicemail. Sorry that we keep having trouble hooking up. I want you to come here and be a guest. I think we could have an excellent conversation that would help encourage people or would help educate people, because you're covering some of the same topics and with the same sort of, mindset that I am. You're a little bit more skeptical, and I like that. I think we need more of that. We'd love to have you on the show. Call me as soon as the stream ends, if you would like. I will be up for a while editing, so I'd be happy to talk to you tonight. Let's see. Sixth Sense reminding people to try to keep their comments on the clean side. Yes, YouTube does not like, please no profanity in the live chat or say it sideways so that the algo doesn't get pissed off or YouTube doesn't get pissed at us. We're trying to be good citizens here. Remember, it is a privilege, not a right, to have a YouTube channel. We're certainly thankful for our partners at YouTube for helping us to distribute the show. It's by far our largest distribution point. The Josh and Artemis show is here and says, awesome show today, Steve. Yes, and I want to encourage everybody. I will put it in, or Josh and Artemis, if Sixth Sense, can you find the Josh and Artemis show that I just did and put it in the live chat? We just did a discussion about cults. Got pretty wild. And I will talk to you guys, Josh and Artemis, off air, because I do have a little bit of advice about those big panel shows. I don't know about you guys. How many have you done with that many people? Because I think 3 or 4 panel members is great. But once you get to like 5 or 6, it gets difficult and everybody's talking over each other or having a hard time chiming in. But it was an excellent and informative stream. We just did it over the weekend, this past Saturday night, there from the cabin. Stephen A is here and says, great show today, Stephen. Yeah, and we've got a full week planned for you here. I go back and forth with this, and that is, part of me thinks you're not working hard enough. You should be doing 5 or 6 shows a week. I mean, I see other people do it, but my worry is always, is there enough demand, first of all? And number 2, because sometimes I have in the past gotten into a situation where if I worked on a show and have really good ideas for a show and did 3, I would get a certain number of views. And then there was weeks where I went, no, I'm going to work a lot harder this week. I've got 5 or 6 good ideas for shows. And I would do 5 or 6. And somehow I would get the same number of views for doing the 3 shows that I did doing the 5 or 6. But I think that our channel is growing here. By the way, here's a good announcement. Let me see if I can find it. We just hit another major milestone, and we're about to hit another one, which I want to thank you all for. If somebody would have told me when I started this channel, the first show was a little less than 2 years ago now. And that would be in June. We did our first show 2 years ago. So coming up in June, we're going to have a 2-year Truth Seekers anniversary special where everyone is welcome. But one major milestone that we just hit, we now have gotten 401,566 views, which is unbelievable to me. Coming from an audio podcast where barely anybody was listening, it's amazing to me that just a short time later doing this new format with the video show and shooting it over. And remember, that's just YouTube views. If we aggregate everything else, we're well over 750,000 views or listens. Like if I add in the audio podcast downloads, the Twitch views, the Twitter views, the Rumble views, the BitChute, everywhere that we have sort of spread Truth Seekers, we're well at over 750,000 views in this time frame. I could be a dickhead, and I will be. There's some asshole that I grew up with who's got a podcast nobody listens to, and he's telling people that his audio podcast gets 10,000 downloads a week. And no, he doesn't, because I happen to know somebody at his podcast distributor, and his views are a joke. Or excuse me, his actual downloads are like less than 100 or 200 a week. But he's telling people, oh, we get 10,000 downloads, because audio podcast downloads are only viewable by the person that owns the podcast usually, but I've got an inside track. So some people will lie to you about their views. Some people will lie to you about their reach. Some people will lie to you. Mine are all public. And by the way, we are completely and totally 100% all organic views here. We never would buy subs. We never would buy views. We never would use any of these marketing services that are essentially give me money and I'll get you fake views. We have never done that, and we never will. All of my views are posted publicly, except for the audio podcast ones, which I'd be happy to give you a spreadsheet of the weekly downloads. And everybody can see our Odyssey views. Everybody can see our Rumble views, our BitChute views, our daily. Everywhere we're at, YouTube, Facebook Live, everywhere we're at, people could see the number of actual, real, organic views that I get. And we're, like I said, at 750,000 or so if we add them all up between YouTube's 400,000 and there's another 350 between all the other distribution points. Our views are real. I will never, ever use non-organic means, and I will never, ever lie to you. In fact, I'm blown away. When I look at that and I go, really? That's where we're at. I'm looking forward to a few more months down the line, maybe by the end of summer, early fall. Who knows? We'll be at 1 million listens or views for this show, which honestly, I gotta check when. I had another YouTube channel for years, like literally years and years, a decade, I think. Let me check my other channel, because that one topped out at a little over 1 million views, but it took me, 10 years to do it, right? You can find that channel at Stephen Cambion. Just search Stephen Cambion in YouTube. Let's check that one. Oh, that one topped out at 1.284 million views. 1,284,499 views. But that one I started in July of 2009. So, wow. To get to 1.2 million views on my previous channel took us more than 10 years, right? 12 years, 13 years. And we are rapidly approaching that right now with this new channel. I can't thank all of you enough. I'm blown away, but it just goes to show you, I'm gonna share this with you. And actually, I completely and totally stole this whole concept from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was talking about people being unhappy. Maybe you're sitting in a cubicle or you're working some construction job and you hate it, and you'd like to do a podcast or a show, but you're not sure you could do it, or you're worried that it won't work. And what Joe Rogan said was such excellent advice. And I heard it right before I started this new channel and this new show. And that is, leave it up to the universe, but treat it like a garden. Go there every day and water that garden. Go there every day and pull the weeds of that garden. Work on it. Just put a little bit of time in every day. If you have a dream, go do it. You'll be so happy that you did. Go there every day and water that garden. For surely, if you just go there and water that garden every day consistently, surely that garden will grow. And this is where we find ourselves. I have tried to be as consistent as I could be. Some days I don't feel like showing up here, but I kind of always get into the spin of things as the show progresses. I've tried to be consistent. I've tried to come here and water this garden every day. And some of you know, if I'm not live on air, I'm probably working on graphics or editing the next production video. Like tonight, my day started way earlier with some graphics works and some video editing and work on some new music for the show. I will be up until probably 2 a.m. tonight editing. The work doesn't stop when the show ends here. I'm trying to be a one-man army, the best that I can here. We sure miss Spooky. But my point is that I really did try. If you've got a dream and you want to do, and I hate to encourage competition, because honestly, in the past 2 or 3 years, there has been an explosion of shows about these topics. But really, it doesn't have to be about this kind of subject matter. If you have a dream, go do it today. Take some steps towards making that dream a reality. Start that garden. Start planting some seeds. Because if you just spend the time, and also for me, it was, I was feeling very unfulfilled doing other things, but this has given me more of a purpose. I get to use all my creative, talented abilities, video editing, graphics, music. I really have research, investigative skills. It is so incredibly challenging that I always feel challenged. Sometimes I feel a little too challenged, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing to feel challenged in life, especially when you start overcoming these hurdles and these obstacles. So if you have a dream, I'm telling you, start planting some seeds to make that dream a reality. Start watering that garden, because surely if you plant those seeds and you water that garden, that garden will grow. And I have seen this philosophy in action. So I want to thank Joe Rogan for kind of teaching me that. And it was strange that wisdom came to me literally at the exact time I needed to hear it. And every time that I felt like this isn't going to work, I'm not going to be able to do this, I'm not good enough for this, I don't know how to do this, or I can't do that, or we have this problem or that problem, I just remembered what Joe Rogan said. Look, I can't control things. You can't control everything, but you can control your ability to show up. Every chance I get, friends, I'm going to come here and I'm going to show up and I'm going to water this garden. And thank you for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Always happy when there's an audience. What else can I say? And again, I'm going to repeat that if people really want me to continue following this shit show called Anjali, we'll do it, because we aim to please here. It's not, it's selfish of me to just say, I want to check out of this story. If my audience wants to hear it, I got to cover it. That's what we do here. We're here to please the audience as much as possible, while keeping me, I got to be interested in the topic. And as long as it involves aliens or cryptids or paranormal events, I'm interested in all of it. Spirituality, ancient history, ancient mysteries. I'm here for it all. But I just mean to say that I can't so quickly check out, because some of you emailed me and sort of checked me like a friend would and say, it's not about you. Somebody literally said to me, like, it's not about you, Steve. Remember, you got an audience to please. So here we are, continuing the coverage that people apparently want to hear about. Now, I get some of the rest. There was some, I'm sure I'm going to get some emails and people that say, get off this crazy train. There's nothing to this story. We hear you too. We got to look for and find some type of balance. So what else can I say, friends? Like I said, always happy when there's an audience. Glad that you guys have all been able to help me reach these incredible milestones. We're also really about to hit, we are about to hit 5,000 subscribers, which is another long-term goal of mine. So I would appreciate it if you would, if you want to help us. There's a few ways to do it. The first, of course, is financial. All the ways to do that are in the description of the video, but there's another way to help us, and that would be, of course, to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, come here and be a part of the live experience. We're going to be doing 3 to 5 videos a week going forward, maybe more, depending on what I have in the pipeline. You are most welcome. Please do hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to comment on these videos. Let us know if you liked a certain story, if you want to hear more about a certain story. Let us know in the comment, or just leave a comment for the algorithm, because it really does help us in the search engines. It helps them to recommend us more. The more interaction that we get with the live audience and with viewers like you, the more that YouTube algorithm loves us. I am a slave to the YouTube algorithm gods. Every day I gotta say a prayer. AI algorithm gods, please find favor in our show. Please let the audience comment a lot, or like this video a lot, or even dislike it. It all counts as engagement. Please help us get more engagement, and please find favor in us. Recommend us to more people so that we find more people that will enjoy the content that we are already producing here. So with all that said, I'm going to bounce on out of here. I've got a lot of editing to do. I'm going to go get caffeined up and go for, the second part of my day here. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of us. I especially want to thank you, kind and generous benefactors. Remind you that there's a join button now. You too can become a member of our YouTube channel. So that's it for me. That's all I got for you. Tomorrow night, we will be back at 7 p.m. with an analysis of Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, also known as Dr. Stephen Greed's latest cash grab. And if at all possible, many of you have asked me to review this Third Phase of Moon documentary that largely features Dr. Stephen Greed. I'm going to try to find it, buy it, and watch it before tomorrow night so we can also discuss that. But tomorrow night, 7 p.m. is going to be all about Dr. Stephen Greer, and his latest conference, his latest cash grab, online conference. Yes. If you enjoy this kind of content, please do be here, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. That would be April 12th. I'll be here, and I hope you will too. That's all I got for you. Until next time, friends, good night, and God bless all of you, even you. Anjali.